I don't know the details about logistics here. It's something that I'm interested on the side. I did a little episode a long time ago on how did Alexander and his men go so far into Asia when they were essentially living off the land of 20 or 30,000 soldiers. But this seems to be the wrong method of movement through the terrain. All right. When they're in Vermont, what happens next as they are undermanned and undersupplied?
All right. Well, they're still actually in New York, but they're going to send the command. Well, Burgoyne on August 11th, he sends the commander of his German troops to the town of Bennington, which is in Vermont. It's right across the what we would call today the state line. They didn't really have a firm state line back then, but there was rumored to be a supply depot. That's why Burgoyne sent these Germans. They're over there to rustle up some grub, as we would say down here in the South. And it was supposed to be weakly guarded. So the Germans would go grab these supplies, chase off the few Americans that were probably there, and then move southward, recruiting more troops and meeting Burgoyne in Albany. That business of recruiting guys along the way, that never really works out like it's supposed to. But hey, let's give it a try. Now, Burgoyne, what he did not know is that there was a large force of 1,800 militia under General John Stark. They were in Bennington, right where the supply depot was. They weren't supposed to be there, at least according to the British and the Germans. But so the Germans went over there expecting to see very, very light resistance, and instead they run into 1,800 guys and General John Stark, and he was a really tough customer. The commander, before he didn't bug out, and he's certainly not going to attack this force, he writes to Burgoyne for reinforcements. Meanwhile, Stark divided his forces into 3 columns. One to demonstrate in the Germans' front, and demonstrate is kind of like make a half-hearted attack. It's just you march up there and you make a show of attacking, and the whole point is to tie up a chunk of the army so they can't go somewhere else. So kind of tie them up, tie them down, whatever you want to call it. The second part of Stark's force, the American militia, they were going to slip around the right flank, and the third was going to slip around the left flank. So a classic turning maneuver, or even enveloping maneuver, we can say. Stark said to his army, "There are the redcoats, and they are ours. Or Molly Stark sleeps a widow tonight." Again, who knows if that was really said, but it's a great quote. In other words, we're going to capture them or we're going to die. And the plan worked perfectly. The Germans were surrounded and they quickly surrendered. On August 16th, 700 German reinforcements arrived, but there's the reinforcements you asked for. They too were attacked by Stark and they retreated. In all, the Germans lost 200 dead, 700 missing, and 4 cannon. The Americans lost only 30 killed and 40 wounded. So if we sum that up, 70 total casualties for the Americans as opposed to 900 or so, give or take, of the Germans. So that's a big chunk of Burgoyne's force that is now gone. They're not coming back. Not only are they not coming back with no supplies, they're just flat out not coming back. So Burgoyne loses close to 1,000 guys, which he can ill afford to lose.
Hey everyone, Scott here. One more brief word from our sponsors. This is exactly what we talked about at the top of the episode, that when British lose someone, it's very hard to replenish the numbers. And in the previous episode, we mentioned that Hessians are excellent at deserting and blending into America. So I like to think that at that exact spot where the Hessians were captured, there was an immediate colony that was set up where there are Germans claiming, "Oh yeah, we are German Mennonites. We've been here for years. We are just simple blacksmiths and craftsmen." Yeah,
Yeah, so, no, das ist gut, yeah.
Well, okay. Burgoyne's plan is going pretty poorly, and there's a lot more to uncover here and see how things actually unfold with Saratoga, because we see a lot of great stories of action with the people that we've met previously. What do you think, James? Should we make this a 2-parter, stop here, and then kick it up with another episode next time?
Let's do that. We've given everybody the background, and we've seen a couple of the march, and now we're about ready to get to the main battle.
All right. Yeah. The march continues in the next episode, and we'll see the main battle of Saratoga. See you then. All right. Well, that wraps up our exploration of the past for this episode. First off, I want to give a shout out to the Spy Masters for the Knowlton's Rangers. Vic Austin, Chris, Rob Matlock, Alan Baker, Beverly Engel, Jake Harrington, Todd Warren, William Ivey, Joyce Normant, Tyler from Colorado, Josh Reddick, Daniel Lawson, Marlene, Michael, Tim Clark, David Powell, Moondoggy from Ohio, Melissa, Christopher Main, Carl from Norway, and Baron Fraser. I'll explain what that is in a second. If you like the show and want to help it grow, there are 4 easy ways for you to do it. 1, like and subscribe to the show on the podcast player of your choice. This helps spread the word about the show. 2, join our Facebook group. Here we can keep the discussion going about new episodes, and you can talk about what you like and didn't like. And you can find this group if you just search for History Unplugged on Facebook. 3, we have an online store with t-shirts, phone covers, and other accessories featuring awesomely bad history puns that were crowdsourced by you, the audience. And you can find that if you go to tpublic, public.com and look for History Unplugged, or you just go to historyonthenet.com and look for our store there. 4, and this is really the best way to dive deep with History Unplugged, and that's to become one of the Knowlton's Rangers. If you know your American history, you know the Knowlton's Rangers were an elite spy and reconnaissance group in the American Revolutionary War, but it's also the name of the membership program of History Unplugged. You can join at 3 levels. If you join at the level of Scout, you can hear all the episodes of History Unplugged completely ad-free and get early access to new episodes, at least a week early. If you join at the Intelligence Officer level, you get special bonus episodes, like a 10-part series on the World War II hero Audie Murphy, a multi-part series called Ottoman Lives about different people in the Ottoman Empire, and a series called Rendezvous with Death that looks at biographical profiles of Americans who went to fight in World War I before America entered the war. The last level is Spy Master, where you get all that stuff, but you also get 3 hardcover history books, Forging a President, How the Wild West Created Teddy Roosevelt, Race to the Top of the World, Richard Byrd and the First Flight to the North Pole, and The Last Fighter Pilot, the true story of the final combat mission of World War II. Another bonus is, you can choose a history topic for me to focus on for an entire episode that can go up to an hour, and I'll answer whatever question you have for me, and you get a shout out at the end of each episode. If you want to learn how to become a member of the Knowlton's Rangers, go to patreon.com/unplugged. That's patreon.com/unplugged. All right, well, that is all for my spiel. Thanks for listening to the History Unplugged podcast, from ancient Greece to the Cold War and everything else in between. See you next time.